Welcome back, everybody. I'm Rich Giordano,
And I'm Michael Roser.
and this is Third Phase UFO Report. Today's no different than any other day, Michael. We've got some interesting stories that came to our desks. And this first one, I can't believe. I mean, it's an older one, but nobody's figured it out. So I'm gonna let you take this one first. I'm gonna, I'm gonna let you. Go ahead. What do you think? What do you think?
Well, you know what this is? I don't know. Maybe you can speak for yourself on this one because my thoughts are pretty nebulous in the end here. At first glance, could the object, if there is an object actually responsible for this formation, be much warmer or hotter than its environment? Perhaps heat and constant speed separated the ice and the water droplets as the object moves through. And I do believe that this is moving at a constant speed because there is very little variation in the wake patterns.
Right.
Most ripples appearing somewhat equidistant to each other. This makes sense if there is indeed an object present. However, they've been using frequencies, to play around in our skies for quite some time, manipulating weather, to cloud formations, all sorts of things that they've, played around with for many, many years. Could this be a product of some of that frequency manipulation that they like to play with? Or it could be from a satellite. It could be some sort of long-range RF. The origin.
What do you mean, like HARP?
Yes, exactly. People mention projects such as HARP, but we don't know exactly what impact these projects make at large. So we're left with these little bits that we see, anomalies that we can't put together. And it's very possible that, again, there might be some sort of frequency that's not within the photograph itself. The source is outside, again, maybe as a satellite or another sort of radio frequency signal that's being projected into the air there. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, thanks. I'm thinking maybe a little differently, that it is not a frequency. Well, I think it might be something like a TR-3B. I mean, we do see the delta shape here in the front. You could say that this object is using some sort of frequency or something like that that's creating these waves.
Mm-hmm.
Are those shock waves? Is it going faster or as fast as the speed of sound? Is that something that's creating that? But I would think the ripple effect would go everywhere, but I think it goes behind the craft. I'm not sure how shock waves work, but I think they do echo behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% sure, but it may be that, and it could be some sort of craft that is just got this incredible array of radar blocking, or I don't know, frequency destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's really weird. And like you said, they're equidistant, which means it's a constant and it's at the same either frequency or speed. This is clouds. I mean, this is amazing that it's cutting through clouds like a boat on water.
And that's why I think that whatever the object is, if indeed there is an object, must be at a different temperature than its surrounding environment to create an effect like that.
Really?
Because
you don't think it's just a wind or?
I mean, there's a possibility of that, but why aren't we seeing more around this anomaly? Why aren't we seeing more of the same in the skies, at that time, or even before or since this has been spotted? It's not like we've seen this very often. But again, it's
Right.
My speculation in regards to what I'm looking at, but it is very curious that Blake mentions that it almost looks like this is in water. So there's this similar characteristic, of cutting through the clouds, almost giving this sort of liquid appearance as it's moving through. And believe me, I think that there is a way to calculate the speed of an object just by gauging the distance between these ripples, which I'm going to look into later on, because I believe there is a way.
That's a fantastic idea, actually. Maybe somebody else came up with it to figure out how fast it's going. Interesting, man. That's a really cool. I remember when this came out about a year or so ago, and I was in love with it. Oh yeah, look at that, November 21st last year, 2019, 2 years ago almost.
Wow.
Well, give or
Well,
take.
yeah.
I know, it just happened. Still a very cool sighting. And when we talk about anything on Earth, in the atmosphere or in orbit, one thing we forget are the objects that we're seeing at the sun. which is the next thing I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna play it. We'll watch this one. I want to hear what the Cousins brothers have to say, and we'll go off of that. I love these sun objects because, well, you'll see. We'll talk about it.
Welcome back, Blake Cousins here, going over photos that just came in via Skype, April 5th, 2015. Just wanted to share them right now, enjoying the discussion. What are these all about? Captured by Soho, NASA. I've not seen these photos yet on the internet, so we're going to share them right now, third phase of moon. What are they? Is this a NASA cover-up, that photos that have been suppressed, or have they been out in public? If anybody out there has seen these photos before, send us the links. We'd like to see them, analyze them. We're sorry for the poor quality on them. The pixelation is quite low, but obviously we're looking at something next to the sun. What is it? We're not exactly sure. We're going to open up the discussion with Brent right here. Brent Cousins is joining us. He has some opinions. We're going to go by frame and give our analysis of what's going on from these images from NASA, Soho. Brent, right here, what's your take on these? I want to give a shout out to Palajax1 right out of Belgium. You know, he's just another third phase of moon watcher fan, and he wanted to reach out with us, and he reached us through Skype. And we got this array of a series of great photos, and Blake mentions the quality.
All right. I'll go first on this one, I guess,
Yeah,
this time.
You should, but I want to ask you a question before
Sure.
you jump into this. How far away from the sun do you think this object is based on the photograph?
20 feet. No. I mean, really? Wow. I mean, you're asking me something that I don't know the size of the craft. I know the sun is 93 million miles away. I would have to say probably 500,000 miles, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Well, you figure maybe more. Let me backtrack. I'm going to say maybe 2 million miles away, maybe 1 million, because the moon is only 250,000 away.
Mm-hmm.
And if this thing was that close, you think there would be some heat issues, but obviously not. I mean, that's one thing that's curious, that makes these things curious, is we just don't know if they're near the sun or near Earth more.
Mm-hmm.
But then people tell me, well, if he's focused in on the object, that means he's seeing it far away. And these things have laser beams shooting out of them.
Yes.
What in the I mean, are you kidding me? In all of these shots, there's some sort of tracking beam, or it's shooting a beam. Really, I don't know, because that object would have to be about the size of the Earth, number one, if it is out by the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So that in itself is ridiculously huge. But the universe, space and everything, it's so large that I don't think that would be uncommon to see ships that big. So
agree.
they can hide behind the sun, in front of the sun. We won't be able to see them. But here we have what looks like a light craft. A light craft. We've all heard of them. They light up the whole thing. And apparently these are visiting Earth as well. Now, if that thing's visiting Earth, it is the size of the Earth. So I don't know if this would be visiting, but they must have smaller craft that they can take solo and just go anywhere they want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and it's, if they can travel through space and time, that they do have a protective shield around them that does protect them from the outside elements. Going so fast through space and time, you run into a pebble, you're dead. So there has to be some sort of protection it has around it to be that close to the sun. Your thoughts?
At first glance, when I saw this, I didn't see the ray of light coming out from underneath these objects. So initially I thought, all right, this is probably something smaller. Maybe it's a satellite up just a little closer to the sun than it maybe should be. But the reason I asked you what you thought the distance was, and that was right there, this image here is what made me sort of think of a satellite. But the reason I asked you that is because I don't think that that's what it is. I think it's a much larger object, and I think it's actually closer to the sun than we we're seeing in the photograph in terms of what we think we're seeing. That being said, it may be something we are not able to determine, but you brought some great points up. I mean, why couldn't it be a mothership of sort of cloaking itself within the folds of the light of the sun? And, they would have other spacecrafts perhaps that would come down and visit us if they were going to this planet or other planets in the immediate solar system. But the rays of light coming off of these objects is just the conundrum that I'm trying to wrap my head around, because that to me changes everything in the way of what this object might actually be.
Hey, what is really going on? Honestly, I mean, are these really alien craft sitting and parking next to the sun? There's other sightings where you see these objects that look just like this flying into the sun and coming out the other end, and something following, like a trail from leaving the sun, the plasma, whatever it is attached to the craft, and it follows it out. Now,
wait, could that be what this is?
Me. Huh?
Could that be what this is when we're looking at these lights? Boom. That's interesting.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Look, I mean, there's these objects hanging out at the sun, flying into the freaking sun itself, and you can't say it's a satellite at that point. It's easy to say it isn't because nobody can prove it either way, but we have video evidence, pictures of objects going into the sun, hanging out by the sun. Not only the sun, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, all over the solar system we see UFOs like this just chilling. And if abductions are real and you believe in UFOs and people are seeing them, policemen, lawyers, cops, firemen, I already said cops twice, but all sorts of people in all sorts of walks of life, even in Africa, New Zealand, I mean, you name it, North Pole, South Pole, it's everywhere. So it can't be, it's a satellite. I mean, I was just showing you a possible comparison, but when you get down to it and you see these trails and you see videos of objects going into the sun and leaving the sun, you have to say to yourself, okay, I give up. Maybe it is. That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
I know I talked for a while. I'm sorry. I digest.
No, there's no reason to digest. You digest well. No, but you bring a good point up here in many ways. And, if it was a satellite, obviously that's not going in and out of the sun. There's no survival there. The materials that we use to create satellites in the way that we know would never make it through.
It's like
and
paper
of course,
mache, yeah.
Exactly. So, it wouldn't surprise me though if, with all the talk of galactic federations and, contacting and disclosure, it wouldn't surprise me if we had some sort of technology up there that was monitoring our immediate solar system, looking for anyone who might be coming in, or perhaps being aware of those who are already there, watching those come into our reality, or obviously exit our reality too is also a possibility. It's in the realm of possibilities that we could still be very much involved in the technology that we're seeing, even at this length and this distance out there.
Why not? If everything else is possibly true, then this is possibly true. I think it's interesting too, not that we're going to do a whole thing on it now, but with this disclosure in 180 days, it's kind of almost like, why are they doing this, now? I mean, there's been so much talk about UFOs and UAPs, whatever you want to call them. It's almost as if they're preparing for something, trying to get us thinking about UFOs and aliens and the fact that they're a threat. It's a very strange time we're living in. Seeing photos like this from a year ago, when did this come out? 2015. But we just, Third Phase of Moon just interviewed a guy a month ago who's still seeing these things.
Yep.
So they're still there. There's still a question, and that's why we're talking about them now. And before I forget, I did want to play the trailer to Countdown to Disclosure that is coming out February 16th. You can pre-order it. Links will be in the description. And check this out.
I think it's terrifying. I mean, this seems potentially like one of the biggest stories of my lifetime. And I don't care if it's about UFOs or whatever you call it. Something that we don't understand is getting very close to our military aircraft.
The technologies related to energy generation should come out first.
This hybrid aerospace underwater craft is able to basically generate an electromagnetic field.
It is President Trump's belief that the United States must remain as dominant in space as we are on land and sea and the air. And your charge is to see to that mission with the United States Space Force.
There were 3 people on my team assassinated, and I was almost killed.
With a lot of people that would like to know what's going on.
It's a matter of national security.
But apparently, just recovered are off-world vehicles not made on this Earth.
The president will respond to the subject the way they want them to. There's a black box with all the technologies that would give us a civilization that's sustainable, peaceful, etc., and that's been around for decades.
Everybody's asking the biggest question in the world. Are we alone?
Look, it's just stalled out there.
The narrative that's being launched, which is a false narrative, is that we're not alone and that those civilizations are a threat. The problem is that the public has to be informed and involved.
It could be a brief statement saying, hallelujah, I'm finally vindicated.
I'm not completely convinced they're gonna let this stay like it is.
But the people who are surrounding that level of our politicians and government are not told. Like the movie Independence Day, where Will Smith, let's go kick alien butt.
Thank you very much for joining me on this one. Michael, where can everybody see you?
You guys can find me at Dark Hour Paranormal or right here on Third Phase alongside of Rich. And where can we find you?
Yeah, right here on Third Phase, obviously. And even now, sometimes Third Phase of Moon. But my home is Goof On. Right here on YouTube, Greatest UFO Network, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, just about every day of the week. Thank you for that, Michael. And I want to thank Third Phase of Moon for giving us this opportunity to give our opinion on these older yet unsolved mysteries. I love it. I love it. We've got a lot more of these coming up and some new things that are coming up later today, tomorrow, and the rest of the week. And don't forget, dropping on February 16th. What is it called? Countdown to Disclosure.
Yep.
Yep. Cousins Brothers Productions. Well, 1091, but Cousins Brothers made it. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget, disclosure can only happen once. So enjoy the ride. See you next time on Third Phase UFO Reports.